Everything you consume, from your morning news email to that show you're binge watching, it's all built on a hidden foundation, this structure that you never ever see. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that invisible blueprint that pretty much decides what you watch, what you read, and what you hear.
Have you ever really thought about how your favorite news show actually makes it to air, or how a website can pump out so much content day after day? It seems like it must be this creative, chaotic storm, right? But believe me, behind all that energy, there's a very specific plan at work.
And that's the invisible blueprint we're talking about. The best way to think of it is like a company's DNA. It's this deep internal structure that controls everything, how an idea actually becomes a finished product, from the top floor office all the way down to the person making the coffee. So let's dive in and really examine this blueprint piece by piece. Because understanding this stuff isn't just for business nerds. Nope. It's the key to figuring out why some media companies just get it right and why so many others seem to fail. So what is an organizational structure, really? Well, simply put, it's the company's official playbook. It defines who does what, who writes the stories, who checks the facts, who signs off on the budget. It's the map that shows who reports to who, making sure everyone is, rowing in the same direction.
And here's what's so interesting. It doesn't matter if it's a tiny little startup blog or a massive global news network. Every single one of these blueprints is built using the same 5 essential components. Think of these as the basic laws of physics for a company. How the work gets split up, who has the power, what the chain of command looks like, how information actually moves around, and finally, how they get everyone to work together. Let's break each one down.
First up, division of labor. This is a really powerful idea, and it's pretty simple. You just can't have one person trying to be a reporter, a camera operator, an editor, and the anchor all at once. It would be a disaster. So instead, you take a huge task, like making a nightly news show, and you break it down into smaller, specialized jobs where people can really become experts.
So, for instance, at a big broadcaster like the Nigerian Television Authority, you've got journalists out on the street gathering the news. Then you have editors back at the office who shape all that content. And finally, producers are the ones who pull all those different pieces together to create the show you see. Everyone has their own specialized part to play, which makes the whole thing run way more smoothly.
Next, you've got 2 things that go hand in hand: authority and responsibility. Authority is what gives a producer the power to say, yes, run that story. Responsibility is their duty to make sure that story is accurate and gets on air when it's supposed to. When you put those 2 together, you get what's called the chain of command, so there's never any confusion about who gets to make the final call. And naturally, that chain of command builds a hierarchy. This is that classic pyramid shape we all know. It's all about clarity. It organizes everyone into different levels so you know exactly who your boss is and who their boss is, all the way to the very top.
So, how does everybody in that pyramid actually talk to each other, officially? Well, that's the communication flow. These are the formal pathways for information. You got instructions flowing down from managers, progress reports flowing up from staff, and departments talking to each other sideways to coordinate.
And the last piece of the puzzle, and honestly, it might be the most important, is coordination. This is the secret sauce that keeps everything from turning into total chaos. It's all the meetings, the shared calendars, the project plans that make sure the investigative team is talking to the legal department and that the marketing team actually knows when a huge story is about to break.
Okay, so you take all those building blocks, specialized jobs, clear authority, a pyramid structure, and what do you usually get? Well, you get the most common, most time-tested blueprint in media, the classic command pyramid.
For really big, established media companies, this hierarchical model has been the standard for decades. It makes sense, right? It gives them clarity and control, which you absolutely need when you're managing thousands of people in a nonstop flood of content.
Just look at this diagram. This is that pyramid in action. Right at the top, you have the Director General, who sets the overall vision. Then just below, you have the heads of each department, news, programs, marketing, who carry out that vision. And then under them, you have all the teams on the ground actually doing the work. Every important decision flows straight down from that one point at the top.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. The source material points to the Nigerian Television Authority as a perfect real-world case. The Director General sits at the very peak, kind of like a general, commanding all the different divisions. It's a structure built for maximum control, which lets them run a huge, complex national broadcast network with, well, almost military-like precision.
But here's the thing. That super rigid, top-down blueprint that worked so well in a predictable world, it's now facing a massive earthquake.
And that earthquake is the digital age. The rules have completely changed, and those old blueprints are starting to show some serious cracks.
So to really get what's happening, you have to look at these two competing ideas. On one side, you have the mechanistic structure, the one we've been talking about. It's rigid, predictable, like an assembly line. But on the other side, you have the organic model. It's flexible, collaborative, and decisions are spread out. It's designed to adapt and change, almost like a living thing.
Now, which one of those sounds more like the media world today? Yeah, it's constant, non-stop change. A story breaks on social media, it has to be verified and published online in seconds, then maybe it becomes a broadcast segment, a podcast, and a TikTok video. A rigid structure where you need 5 levels of approval is just way too slow. The modern world demands the speed and flexibility of that organic blueprint.
So let's bring this all together, because this isn't just some internal business talk. The choice a company makes between being rigid or flexible has a direct, real-world impact on the news and the shows that you see every single day.
So after all of this, why should you really care about some company's org chart? Why does this invisible blueprint matter to you, the person watching or reading?
It matters because that internal blueprint shapes your reality. A super rigid, hierarchical company might be why your favorite news app is always late with breaking news. The story is stuck waiting for approval. That same structure decides who has the power to say no to a risky, creative new show. And in the end, it determines whether a company can innovate and keep up, or just fade away.
Which leaves us with a huge, fascinating question. As our media world keeps getting shaken up by technology, what is the winning blueprint of the future going to look like? Will it be some kind of hybrid model, or something totally new that we can't even picture yet? The answer to that is going to define everything.